Alright, guys, so I want to take a look at our first injury report going into this week. Obviously, we play on Sunday versus the Arizona Cardinals. We play in Arizona, which is going to be a tougher matchup. Could be a travel across the country. But we need this win. We 1000% need this win, so there's no reason why, we do not get this win on Sunday, right? So, starting off right away, Irv Smith. As it says right here, Smith Jr. has missed the last 2 games due to a hamstring. It is uncertain if he will take the field against the Cardinals. And my guess is he probably won't. Now, what can we do with that situation? We could go out there in free agency, maybe try to get somebody, maybe try to trade for somebody. I mean, pretty much do anything at all at this point at tight end because Tanner Hudson's not cutting it. Clearly, Tanner Hudson's not the guy, and I'm not trying to trash Tanner Hudson in any way. I just think overall wise, he really isn't getting open much at all. And now, of course, our offensive line was a problem last week, and obviously Joe stepping into his throws. But I feel like if we had a very good blocking / vertical threat tight end, things would be a tad bit different, even if it's 1% different, right? Akeem Davis-Gaither was absent from the previous contest with a knee injury, and it remains to be seen if he's still available for Sunday versus the Cardinals. Again, this is why we picked up the guy we picked up, because of the fact of his injury. And, he's another guy who really popped up on the injury report randomly after, I think it was, the Rams game. And now another guy that's, just can't play. And obviously, he's not the reason our defense sucked last week. But we need as many of these guys on defense as possible to play because, let's be honest, we need as much help as we can get. And then we got T. Higgins, Higgins exited last game with a fractured rib, and is yet to be determined if he will face the Cardinals on Sunday. Now, we do have an update on him. He did say that as long as his pain tolerance will allow him to, he wants to play through the injury. Whether or not that's smart, whether or not we're going to see, that have consequences, down the line, it's very possible. He's going to play. And at the end of the day, you got to commend him for that. He is on his final year as a rookie contract. He still has not gotten a brand new contract. And it's very clear that he is he is willing to give his whole entire career pretty much for this team this year when he has nothing guaranteed. So, it's players like that you really got to give, commendance to. And you also, if you're the Bengals, got to feel even more effed up that you haven't worked a contract out with him because clearly he's a guy you want to build your franchise around. He's a great guy in the community, great guy with the fans, and clearly, great guy when it comes to your team wanting to give everything. That does not happen often in the NFL anymore. It used to be back in the day, but nowadays it seems like players, and this is not me trashing players at all, but players more or less nowadays want to, avoid injury, right? I'm sorry, not avoid injury, sorry. They want to avoid playing as much as possible if they are injured, even the slightest injury. They don't want to play because obviously they don't want to, ruin their careers. They're thinking about the future, right? Back in the day, it used to be like, oh yeah, man, I got a messed up arm. I'll go out there and play. As long as I'm not in severe pain, I can still play. If I can walk, I can play, right? Nowadays, players are smarter when it comes to their injuries. They're more logical, and they're like, listen, one game's not going to determine anything. I'd rather be ready to go for 10, 15 games, right, than just one game. So, players are a lot smarter. Especially that's why a lot of players want guaranteed money because, if something does happen, then they know in the future, how it's going to work, right? But, for example, if T, continues this year as, it's not really his fault, it's the offense fault, but if he continues having a kind of okay, less than average year, and then you add on to that, he has injury concerns because of this year, that's going to hurt his contract value if he does end up leaving us and going somewhere else. It's really going to hurt him because, again, he, now has injury problems, right? He now has, of course, coming off a bad year. So there's going to be teams that say, you know what, T, we're not going to offer you as much money rather than if he came off a year he had 3,000 yards. I'm exaggerating, but he had a lot of yards, right? He would get a big contract. Alright, so Chuck Sizzle is on IR. I mean, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. He's a broken thumb. Honestly, I'm going to guess he's out for 4 weeks, the 4-week period. Devin Conklin and Maxwell, you already know, they're on the IR. That's pretty much it. Alright, so for the Arizona Cardinals, obviously in this upcoming game, they will not have Budda Baker. who did get hurt earlier this year. He got hurt on 9/24. We also are seeing that they do not have Kyler Murray, which again, we already know that. Pat Eifline, Rashad Fenton, Marlon Mack. These are all players that got hurt way earlier in the season. I'm just listing them because these are players we're not going to be playing this upcoming, week. But for the players that are newer and actually something to talk about, it's going to be Josh Woods. Josh Woods has been held out of the last 3 matchups due to an ankle injury. It remains to be seen if he will face the Bengals on Sunday. Keontae Ingram, the running back. Ingram missed the last contest with a neck alignment, and it has yet to be confirmed if he'll be available for Sunday clash versus the Bengals. And Jonathan Ledbetter. Ledbetter sat out on the previous tilt with a finger injury. It's unknown if he'll play versus the Bengals. So it's not like doesn't look like at least they have like anyone who's too insanely, good that is out. So it's not like they have detrimental injuries. I mean, we look at the Cardinals depth chart real fast. I mean, again, their team, not the greatest team in the world. They definitely, are kind of in that rebuild type of scenario. But I mean, they're still a great opponent. They beat the Cowboys. They played tough with the Giants. They played very tough with, I think it was the 49ers. No, actually, I got destroyed by the 49ers. But they played tough with a couple opponents. So, starting off right away, the running back we're talking about who might not play is actually their backup running back. So, he's the backup to James Conner. We know about James Conner as he used to be the Pittsburgh Steelers running back. So, he is going to be the starter. But outside of, their starter, if Ingram does not play, then that means it's going to be their third string running back, who is their second string running back here. Now, the rest of the offense is fine. There's no problems. But this is their defense. So they're starting right inside linebacker is actually the guy who might not play and is questionable. And they're starting left defensive end. Now, again, we have seen last week going into that matchup versus the Titans where we thought, wow, they don't have Treylon Burks. They don't have, a couple players on defense. They have 4 players out of that game. We thought that was going to make a difference in that game. That was not the case. Simply not the case. So, we can't really look too much into injuries and think, oh, well, they don't have this guy, because it could still obviously destroy us. They still have Zaven Collins, who's a really, really, really good outside linebacker. Cannot stress that enough. And they still got some other guys on this team that, really are underrated and, underappreciated, I will say. And they still have a pretty decent receiving core. Marquise Brown, former Baltimore Raven. A Michael Wilson, who they drafted this year in the 3rd round. Zach Pascal. So they still got some weapons on there, right? And obviously they got Josh Dobbs and Clayton Tune. So there's no reason to take this opponent light in any way possible. I think we kind of did take the Tennessee Titans very light in that last matchup. And it was definitely a detrimental fact on us, right? That ended up pretty much butting ourselves in the butt there. And, yeah, we lost the game. But you know what? You got to take every loss, every game, one game at a time, and just kind of, I know it's hard here, we got to move on and remember there's next week. We got to get ready for next week, right? And we have this game, and then we have the game against the Seahawks. And these are the 2 most important games of this season right now because they're the next 2 games up, right? Your most important game of the season isn't the Bills, isn't the Chiefs, isn't the Ravens next time, isn't the Steelers twice. Your most important game of the season is next week. And I myself, as a fan, I find myself, thinking ahead too much, right? We're looking too much ahead. We're looking at, oh, well, we put the Ravens. Well, guess what? If you focus too much ahead, then you might lose focus on the Cardinals or the Seahawks. And by the time you play the Ravens, you're 0-11 or whatever, 1-10, whatever. Actually, it'd be 1-9. Yeah, 1-9. Then it doesn't matter. That game doesn't matter, right? Because then you already suck. So you have to focus one game ahead and, one game at a time. And this is our game we had to focus on and we had to get ready for. And hopefully things go better. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.